All right, everybody, welcome back to the Millennial Sales Podcast, episode 252. It is the first day of September. We're heading into Labor Day weekend. I'm excited. I'm heading to a wedding out in the Midwest, family wedding. I'm going to see some family, going to have a couple drinks, going to relax. I'm looking forward to it. Excited about today's podcast. I got Scott Milener on the show. He is the CEO of IntroSnap. IntroSnap helps to provide a way to book meetings faster and cheaper while supporting global causes important to invitees. What does that mean? Essentially, you have a discovery call with someone, or you're trying to prospect to someone. Instead of asking for everything in return and giving nothing of value, you can actually ask them about what they care about and donate on behalf of whatever charity that they're passionate about, whether it's for climate change, whether it's for veterans, whether it's for cancer, whatever it is. They match with, I think, millions of charities around the world that you can find and connect with. So I love what Scott's doing there and what he's building in a way that's building a business, which I'm interested in, and also doing good in the world, which I'm also interested in. So definitely check that out. Before he was at IntroSnap, he was the VP of sales over at Blueshift and Functionize. He ran enterprise sales over at Oracle Marketing Cloud. We talk about some of the seven-figure deals that he closed there, and how he went about doing that in strategy for any of the big deal closers out there, how he got into sales, all of that. It's a great conversation. I think you're really going to enjoy it. We'll check that out in a second. But first, a word from our sponsor. This podcast is brought to you by Postal.io. The OGs that have been sponsoring the show, they help create a curated experience marketing platform that helps you cut through the noise. What does that mean? You're sending gifts to your partners, your prospects, your customers. Instead of sending the boring Starbucks gift card or something like that, you can do an event. You can do something that's curated from the florist around the corner or the local winery or brewery or whatever it might be. It's a really cool company. I love a lot of the people working over there. I've gotten to know them personally. They're all very cool people. I highly suggest you check them out at postal.io. And starting next week after Labor Day, we're going to do a little giveaway. So stay tuned. You can learn more about that. Just make sure you're following me on LinkedIn, Tom Alemo on LinkedIn. I'm Tommy Tahoe on Instagram and Twitter. Without further ado, let's get straight into my conversation with Scott Milener. Let's go. All right, Scott Milener, welcome to the Millennial Sales Podcast. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Tom?
I am doing well. You've got a nice sunny background. Are you in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I'm in Marin County. I'm in Marin County. So you're looking at my you're looking at my backyard here. So
I like that.
When the weather's nice, it's a great outside office.
Yeah, I'm envious of that. Stuck in a San Francisco apartment with like one small window in this room. So that's nice. Well, thanks for grabbing some time. Excited to learn a little bit about your path today and what you're building at IntroSnap and just kind of diving into it. So thanks for taking some time.
Yeah, thank you.
So are you a New Yorker originally?
I am a New Yorker by trade. Yes.
Okay.
Grew up in New York, grew up in central New York, spent a lot of time in Manhattan and downstate as we call it. I love New York, and I spent my summers in Cooperstown, which is known for the Baseball Hall of Fame, cabin on the lake kind of thing. So yeah, New York is a great place to grow up.
Yeah, that's awesome. I grew up in Boston, so I can relate to like the East Coast going to West Coast. Was it a situation where you graduated college and just like wanted to get into the Silicon Valley area and kind of chase gold, so to speak, or how did that all happen?
Yeah, no, exactly. I'd been dreaming about software and tech, and I'd always been a little bit of a computer nerd. Talked to my dad into buying a computer when I was 12. And he's like, "What are you talking about? 12-year-olds don't need computers," and I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah.
It's old school, but and then so reading about the Silicon Valley and Apple and all the companies out here. So I went to the University of Rochester and then just came right out here after school. And you live here in Northern California, and it's not long before you realize I don't think I'm going back.
Yeah.
So lots going on, great weather, very just rich culture, and I love the outdoors, and I love the mountains and fishing and camping. I mean, we have, everything here. So and unfortunately we also have drought and fires, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
So did you know straight like out of school that you wanted to get into sales, or what was your first job coming out of school?
It was sales, yeah. So I came out and joined a friend of mine's company who was a startup at the time, and we were selling a basically a plug-in for PCs, um, that made them essentially Macintosh compatible. Pretty cool product that he had invented. So it was sort of throw in the fire, like, yep, come on out of school, and we need to sell this thing. And I've always loved working with people, and I like presenting and working through ideas, and the thrill of closing a sale. And so it was sort of a natural fit for me.
Yeah, yeah. Did you ever happen to have like sales training, or did you read like sales books back then, like when you were first starting and on the come up, or was it more of like trial by fire?
A little bit of both. I did I did like the Miller Hyman
Okay.
sales training courses, which were really helpful. Like, oh, there's a lot of structure to sales.
Yeah.
Sales is a process. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And then I also did a lot of self just training, like reading books by sales pros and presenters like Zig Ziglar, and there's that whole ilk of guys
Yeah.
that produced a lot of like sales, books, and listened, really usually listened to those. Super helpful. There's so much going on in sales, and it's not, some of it's intuitive, a lot can definitely be learned, and it really helps.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And there was like a legendary time period there where you had like the Zig Ziglars and Dale Carnegies and Napoleon Hills. I don't know if they all seem to be alive around the same time. I don't know if they truly were, or if there's really like an age difference there or a time difference, but those are just kind of like the OGs that, um, I learned them, that's what I was reading when I started, like 7 years ago. So
Yep,
they're
yep.
timeless.
Still timeless. Yeah, those lessons are timeless. How to work with people and get things done. And so yeah, and then I've done training throughout my career, and then reading lots of books, and you got to keep up on it, because there has been a lot of innovation, especially with the growth of SaaS sales and modern sales practices, and what customers expect, and how we go about it now has changed. So it's important to keep reading and learning.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about the startup that you're running nowadays. But you also, a number of years ago, were director of sales running a team over at Oracle, which is
Hmm.
like in my mind as far away from running a startup as possible, right? Like
Yeah.
working at an Oracle or a Salesforce or something like that. So um, I'd love to hear kind of your positive and negatives of both experiences. So if we start with like the Oracle, working at just such a behemoth of a company, like what was
Hmm.
that experience like, both like positives and negatives?
Overall, it was great. Just
Yeah.
it's an amazing company. Oracle is one of those top companies that's super well run, best practices, great team, hiring practices, incredible brand. They're already, Oracle is one of those companies that they already have feet walking into, and probably already contracts with everyone in the Fortune 1000.
Mm.
And so there's no guessing who is Oracle and what do you guys do, and getting introductions, and Accenture helps you, and it's sort of that level of company, and so you learn a lot about those best practices and sales and proper sales enablement, and the team structure with the VPs and the directors and the SCs and the sales orgs, and the account structure, and the pricing structure, and all those things that come with what we kind of have gotten used to now in SaaS sales. Oracle's very good at those things. So you just learn a lot about how big companies do it, um, and what it's like to walk in with a powerful brand. I sold the Oracle Marketing Cloud,
Yeah.
which really had been invented by Kevin Ackroyd with
Yeah.
Mark Hurd. Um, and like, we need to put these products together and make a cloud out of it. And then he helped birth this idea of a marketing cloud. So it was a very hot space, still is. And so I was there at a very good time. Had great management, Susan Lorkovich, and a great management team. So really, really excellent experience. And, I did very well there. I was number one out of 350 reps,
Whoo!
yeah, I had a, just crushing some years, is so the but one good thing is the dollar figures are large, right? Like you close multi-year deals, for example, where Cisco Systems takes half your marketing cloud and it commits to it for like $6 million ARR, you know and then you add accelerators to that, pretty good, right? Pretty good, like pretty amazing payouts. So it was an amazing experience. And another great thing, and for anyone listening that's sort of thinking about their own career, one of the really good things about going to an Oracle or an Adobe or Salesforce or SAP or Microsoft, um, and there's a bunch of others, you gain a personal brand. So
Yeah,
then they know. So then companies like that don't hire you and keep you if you're not good, and they have stringent practices, and they know. So then from there are so many companies that are going to want to hire you. Oh, you came out of Oracle Marketing Cloud. We're in Martech. Please come and show us how it's.
yeah,
Startups that grow, they don't have that necessarily, that DNA, and so it's just a big sort of stamp of approval. Like, oh, you were at Adobe, you were at Salesforce for a few years,
yeah.
and you did well. You can get a sales job, anywhere at a drop of the hat because you bring that pedigree.
Totally. Yeah, that's something that I think, especially for folks that are early on in their career too, is advice that I've heard from people quite often is like, hey, go to sales boot camp, so to speak, at somewhere like Salesforce.
Yeah,
Just happens to be the big name that comes up nowadays, I
yeah,
think, especially in the Bay Area. Go there for 2-3 years, build up your brand, build up the skill set. They plug you into wherever you are and know what they're doing. And,
yep,
you'll have a sales job for a long time afterwards
totally.
elsewhere, assuming that, you did a good job and know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, no, you will. And it's like, who's going to be better at sales process than Salesforce, right? And then also you make great contacts,
Hmm.
because you're going to be working with hundreds of other salespeople, from BDRs to AEs to VPs to directors,
Yeah.
and those people are all going to go somewhere, right? And then you spend 3 or 4 years and invest in your business, but also invest in spending time with as many people as you can, because it's kind of like going to college or going to business school. They're
Yeah.
all going to disperse. Everyone ends up leaving and going, and then you've got friends all over the place that'll buy from you, hire you, advise you. And I've already leveraged that at Oracle, numerous times, and people have that sort of fraternity feeling to it, so, or
Yeah.
sorority feeling to it, that they'll help you anytime.
Yeah. So let's talk for a minute about these big deals, right? We're talking, millions of dollars in ARR, multi-year contracts. And some folks that are listening to the show are either in enterprise sales or maybe aspire to be. I feel like at some point in a sales career, you tend to go one of two ways. You either say, hey, I want to close the biggest deals in company history, or maybe I want to get into a management path. And you could do both. But I feel like you get to a point where you might be the top, mid-market or small business rep, and you kind of have a decision to make. And so I'm
Mhm.
curious, like what were the skill sets that you think helped you, in particular, like with such big, massive enterprise deals with someone like Cisco?
Number one is tenacity.
Mm.
All day, every day, you got to bulldog that thing through with, don't get discouraged no matter what happens. You've got to put your confidence hat on and just grind it out, because they're not going to buy in a month or 2 months or 6 months. It takes months and months and months. Could take 9 months to a year, sometimes faster. But the part of it is just tenacity. And then number two, you've got to realize that in any company that large, any deal that large, there's going to be at least 10 to 20 people involved in the decision.
Mm.
And if any one of those people is a no on the card, you got a problem, because no's are very powerful. People do not like to buy something if people don't think it's a good idea. It's because they don't want to blemish. And so it's all consensus. You've
Mm.
got to get consensus. And the key thing for a complex sale like that is, you got to find out who is actually in the decision, because sometimes they won't show up to the meetings, and someone will mention, "Oh yeah, we'll just got to run it by the director," or
Yeah.
the VP has to sign off. They play it down actually because they want to show that
Yeah.
they're important. which VP is going to sign off? I mean, you can't be like, oh, good, then that person will go get the. No, you got to go meet that VP, track them down, get them in front of your CEO, have lunch with them. So one thing that I used to do is I would make a spreadsheet, and I would have a yes or no column. I literally had green and red, and I
Yeah.
would mark the columns, and I put every single person that was in every meeting, and then I would ask my champion or the person that was essentially the lead, who else? Who else? Who else? Who was that sat in for 5 minutes? Oh, that was the head of IT. Well, and then talk to every single one of them. Don't just work with your lead. Don't be single threaded.
Hmm.
Critical. Probably the most critical thing is don't be single threaded. Like, oh, they said everything's fine. No, it ain't. You got to talk to everybody. So I would say, great, I'm going to call that person. I'm going to contact that person, email that person, come in and have lunch, walk the halls like old school, because
Yeah.
they're around. And you got to meet with every single one of them and turn them from green to, if they're not green, you better turn them to green. So that's the kind of thing. And then once they all say yes, you're probably going to get your deal. So that's critical stuff.
And that yes, no, that's saying like, yes, we want, in this case, it's Marketing Cloud, right? Like
Yeah.
we're a proponent for it. It's not just getting the meeting, it's getting them to actually
To say yes.
verbally say, yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Right. Correct. You're at Gong, right, Tom? Is that what
Correct.
you're? Oh,
Yep.
yeah. So same thing. I'm sure Gong
Yeah.
wants to go get whatever large sales org you don't have yet,
Yeah.
and there's going to be a bunch of people involved in that decision, and so same thing. Like, well, yeah, but we already have some recording, or we have a note taking, or yeah, but yeah, I don't know if everyone wants to listen to calls, and and you've got one naysayer like that out of
Yeah.
10 decision makers, and it'll drag. So you got to find those people and turn them into a yes. Like, okay, I talked to Tom. I get it now. If we don't have that stuff automatically transcribed and analyzed, we don't know what's going on. I get it now. And bing, switch to a yes. They have another meeting. He's like, yep, I'm good. Boom.
Mm.
Okay, Tom, let's get to contract. You know,
Yeah.
that's a good day. And
Yeah.
so
What do you,
that's the thing.
what happens if you have the detractor, right, in that meeting that's just like, their brother works at the competitor. So, like they just have ties with someone else. They really, for some reason, maybe they don't like you, or they don't like the product or your CEO or whatever. Like there
Yeah.
are times that I've come across with, large deals where it's just like, there's someone there that is just really, really hard to win over. And even if you
Yeah.
have that conversation and you try to hear them out and try to talk through it, they're just not going to. They're being very difficult about it, or
Yeah.
they're avoiding you they're ghosting you on
Yeah.
having that type of conversation.
It happens. It's happened to me more than once. So let's say you're just not going to convince that person. We're not going to. Of course, you try. Oh,
Yeah.
well, please tell me what your objections are, and you try to overcome them. That's number one, right? Don't
Yep.
just because if you're tenacious, sooner or later they might say, "Well, their button's blue and your button's green. I like blue."
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for telling me. Thank you for telling me. We have a blue button too, and maybe you can turn them. Maybe you can turn
Yeah.
them. So the one way is at least get them from a no to a fence, which is like, thank you so much. I just want to make sure to compare to the other company, and just provide you this information. Better, 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 same, better, better. And we're this, and this, and we have two people that are similar to your company. So just keep that in mind. We're number one, and leave it at that. And then what you got to do is you've got to get the person who has more decision power than they do to be a yes, and
Mm.
you can alert that person. I know this is like in the weeds, but this is what great enterprise selling is about. It is about the people. In the end,
Mm.
it is about the people. It's about their emotions and about how they feel
Mm.
saying yes in front of the group, and not making a mistake. You got to convince the senior person, the VP or whoever's, um, looks like we've got everybody. And there was I do want there was I think one person had a couple of other questions around the blue and the green buttons. Just want to make sure you're aware our button is blue also, and it does this. So if you hear that, I think there's just a miscommunication. We've got the blue button too, and that does this. So just be aware of that. So that then if when that person goes, well, they don't have the, well, I think we're good. I think we're good on that. So they overrule
Yeah.
them with knowledge, right? So you can
Hmm.
basically preempt that person's objections by giving all the information to the head decision maker, so that when that comes up, they can basically safely overrule and say, good point. We did go into that, and I think we're good on that. Because, so you can get overruled, but you got to give them reasons why that they're not going to be, because if the other person says, oh, they don't have the blue button and they didn't, and you didn't preempt it, they'll be like, oh God, I didn't know that that was a thing. And then you got to go through a whole another bunch of meetings. What's all the blue button about? So
Yeah.
preempt that. That's the most important thing in that situation, and get the most senior person to buy in.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so pivoting away from that, I do want to get into IntroSnap and talk about it. So post Oracle, VP of sales at multiple different companies. And I think you just started IntroSnap like what 5-6 months ago. So I'd love to hear, before we even get into anything else, like why now like start a company? What was the problem that you saw in the market, and why you wanted to be, a first-time founder? I believe a first-time founder now.
Yeah. So, as a VP of sales, I saw over and over again the team struggling with what can we send, do, say, offer that is outside of just the pitch. And you guys might do this at Gong, like, okay, we got this prospect. We had a call with them that kind of aren't coming back. Let's poke them. They'll have another meeting. So it's just endless poking, or let me send you another PDF about how great our features are.
Yeah.
As if they already probably understand that. So, and we would have entire meetings about, well, let me see, what can we send? Oh, they went to University of Michigan. Should we send them a mug with a Michigan logo? Or should we mention the Michigan? Hey, Michigan won the game! Yay! And this is going on every day. Millions of sales conversations, and what the fundamental problem is that we are in the human to human selling era. You got to get away from B to B, and we got to be H to H. That's what IntroSnap is helping to do. So what that means is you got to be personal, meaningful, provide something outside of the pitch that this person cares about that you can latch onto. And a great thing, so IntroSnap essentially is a solution to this. What can you do and send during a cycle or to get a meeting that is the most personal touch you can make? It's a donation to their favorite cause. It's literally the most personal, meaningful thing you can do. And it sounds like, wow, really? Yeah, because sending them a box of donuts, it's nice, a Starbucks card, but that's not that personal, really. And they've gotten 10 of those. Sending, hey, Michigan won the game. Well, yeah, you saw the news. Thank you very much for reminding me of something I already know. Or not doing anything, right? Just poking. Hey, how about Tuesday? How about Tuesday? But what happens is, especially there's another trend going on where people want to give back as part of doing business. They know we got to save the planet, we got to save people, we got to save animals, we got to save the water supply. Like there's serious things going on. And so everyone has a cause. Any exec you're selling to probably has a cause they care about. And so what we find, and this is what's working already with IntroSnap, we've already got a lot of teams on board. We have a lot of users who are sales reps and they're being very successful with it. They are offering, so they'll ask starting with a discovery call. So let's talk more about you. Is there something you're into, or a charity you support? Are you an outdoorsy person? Oh yeah, I love to fly fish, and there's a rivers I go. What river do you go to? Oh, I guarantee you there's a fund for that river, or the mountain that they hike on, or the lake in their area, or the animal rescue in their area where they went and got their dog. You have a dog? Where'd you get it? Oh, we got it at the rescue. Oh, what's the name of that rescue? Oh, it's the so-and-so Marin Rescue. Oh, really? And then you send them an IntroSnap, we call it a charitable gift offer, so that they have to come and accept it. You're not just sending it, but to that animal rescue where they went and got their dog for free, or to that river. There's some fund that supports the health of that river, guaranteed. Because we have over 1 million in IntroSnap, so it's in there. And then schools, local schools where their kids go, you can ask them, oh, you have kids, where do they go to school? Oh, they go to school here at the Marin blah 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 school. Oh, really? Yeah, I guarantee you there's a fund for that school. Everyone's got an org and raising capital. And then 2 days later, imagine you send them, hey, so great chatting with you, we want to make a donation to the Marin such and such school where your kids go, $100 on us. Just click to accept. Wow, that's cool. Really? You're going to put $100 to the school my kids go to, or to the fund that supports the river where I fly fish, or that animal rescue where we got our puppy? That's awesome. Okay, you've got me, right? Now we're on something else. And then what's cool is they go and select a charity, accept it, And now you have a topic to talk about that's outside of the pitch. And
Mm.
so now you're human to human. So then what you do is you follow up with some news. Oh, you just do a quick search from time to time. Oh, I saw in Marin there's a blah 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 about the school system, or what, or that river. It turns out that it's part of the watershed, and I saw this thing about trout fishing. Oh yeah, trout fishing on the river, because that's what they really want to talk about, right?
Right.
And then when you call them, you say, oh, they thank you. So the next call starts with the customer thanking the rep. When does
Mm.
that ever happen? Right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that river, tell me, oh yeah, I went this weekend and it was great and I caught this huge trout. And then so you start this whole other thread that's personal throughout the cycle. And it is absolutely helping people win deals, get deals done faster, beat competitors because they're thinking more about you. And that really, it builds this bond that is so elusive in sales. And it's just fun, and it's good. Makes everyone feel good, right? So so that's really what we're doing. And the thing is, the sales and marketing budgets are enormous. They're spending a lot of money on tools, a lot of money on outreach. It's not working that well. So let's shift some of those budgets. Give back to a cause that's good for
Yeah.
everybody, save the planet in whatever context you want to, and do something great for the customer. And it's something they can accept, because more and more of these corporate gifting, they can't even accept it. Like gift cards, $50 or $100. That's whoa, I can't take cash, or you know, expensive baskets with wine. I can't. A lot of companies can't even do that, or they don't want you to mail it to their house because everyone's working at home now. So a charitable gift that I can do because it's going to the charity, but it's on my behalf. Totally copacetic. So it's also fixing that kind of challenge.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. And it's just great, and it makes everyone feel good. And you've got this rapport, and it helps you win deals.
Yeah, the first thing that stood out to me when I first heard about IntroSnap was I figured it was going to be actually something different. I figured it was going to be an SDR prospecting in and saying, hey, if you take an intro call with us, 20 minutes equals $20 to your charity of choice.
Mhm.
And maybe it is that too. But what you said is it's actually on this first call. Instead of I get on here with you, Scott, and I say, hey, oh, how's the weather? Or, insert, kind of like fake rapport building thing here. I love the idea of asking, like, all right, so just for like 5 minutes, like, what do you care about outside of, work?
Let's talk
And
about you. Yeah, and you support a cause. What are you into? You can ferret out pretty quickly. Oh yeah.
yeah. And that's just, that's a great way to build rapport. Like just in general, like I love that idea. And I want to do more of that as a salesperson.
Good.
Do you have SDRs or someone doing this like to get people's attention or
People use it
not?
for both. Yeah, you can send it out. We have people building it into cadences and sales loft and outreach. Yeah.
Yeah.
So step number, you make some awareness. Step number 4. Hey, Gong loves to give back, and we want to we're doing this special thing this month where we're giving to diversity and inclusion, and here's a charity, or select your own, $50 on us. Thank you so much. Just leave it at that. And then the ones that come and engage, so what they have to do is they click and come to a landing page that IntroSnap produces for, say, Gong, and then they accept it, and they can search for other charities, and then they pick one, or they pick the one that you suggested, and then you get a confirmation, and then they get a thank you card, a digital thank you card. That's really the process. And so then if they've accepted it, then it's not so much like quid pro quo, like
Yeah.
it's a little like $50 for half an hour is like, well, it's not really a fair mix. But what we find is if they come and accept your donation offer, then you can say, hey, I saw that you wrote the thing with the river, or the dogs, save the dogs fund. I love dogs too, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, me too. And that was so cool. Great. And then you can ask for a meeting, or, hey, by the way, did you see the webinar coming up, or whatever, whatever it is, we're always pushing something.
Yeah.
And we also have marketers using it to drive attendance and meetings booked after webinars, for example. Another good
Mhm.
use. So you can use that in outreach, in cadences, or mid funnel after any conversation. Send it to build that relationship and have that topic.
Yeah, I also love this reminds me, I can't remember the name of what it is in the book Influence by Robert Cialdini,
Hmm. Hmm.
where it's essentially you're it's not quid pro quo. It's kind of the opposite. It's you're offering something, you're giving something to someone. I remember they talked about this theory with people that would give out like pamphlets at the airport. And they found that when they give them a flower, I forget what the name of the organization is, but they give them this little like carnation or something with no ask in return, the people were, hundreds % more likely to donate to the cause. And so it's kind of the same thing. Hey, I'm going to help donate to your charity. I'm not saying I'm doing it for a meeting. I'm not doing it for a deal, but you are kind of putting your best foot forward in that sense, and maybe starting the relationship on a stronger foot.
No, that's exactly right. There's a psychology to that basically when you give somebody something, they inherently feel a little more obligated to then do something for you in return. And that's fine. That's fair. And giving to a charity for somebody is also a great way to start a conversation, start a relationship. So that's why it's working.
Yeah, I'm curious now. We talked about the $6 million deals at Oracle, and you've been in startups for quite a long time as well. But now running your own, it's probably the exact opposite, right? You're elbowing and bumping your way to probably every single customer that you can get. So what's the difference there for maybe people that have never worked at a very early stage startup? Like what's the process of like customer acquisition at your stage right now?
IntroSnap, we're doing great. Part of it is that I have got a great, sort of Rolodex, so to speak. I've got an awesome network, and so first for starters, you work your network, and you go contact people that you already know. And my co-founder Xander Garovi, he also has, he came out of Oracle and Trip Actions and Lattice Engines. So we have a sales background, which is of course what this whole thing's born out of, is seeing that pain. So working on a network and just working through that and understanding how to talk about the pain. So we have that part nailed. But then also, the message just is resonating incredibly well. I mean, IntroSnap is probably the easiest thing I've ever had to, sell. I guess it's almost not even literally we get on with a VP of sales or sales enablement or a marketer who runs demand gen and webinars. And I'm not kidding you. It's like a 25-minute sales cycle. We get done with the call. They're like, well, why wouldn't we do this? We need to be doing this. How do we get started? And it's super easy. It's free to start. You just put a credit card, you start sending out requests. You actually only pay if a donation is made. There's no SaaS license. There's no $100,000 a year to worry about, and so we've made it frictionless, self-serve. So it's also just been really easy, but it's just a huge pain point. Everybody is trying to solve this problem of what are we going to do that's different and personal. So, and this human to human selling is a big trend, and that we're fitting right into that. If you look at, as part of it is like so many people working at home now, which just brings a much more, like, look at us now, we're relaxed, right? I'm in my backyard, you're in your room, and you notice we're not using backgrounds. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but generally on Zoom now, the number of backgrounds is probably 5 or 10%. Whereas when it was newer, a lot of people felt, oh, gosh, I have to have a background because I can't show them where I am, right? That's not formal enough. Now people are like, oh man, I'm over it, right? People are over the stiffness and the formality. And so you've got to be human. So that's playing right into that.
Yeah, totally. I almost feel like I do feel you're selling yourself short as a salesperson if you have one of those fake backgrounds up, or you've got the blurred screen, or if you have your camera off, don't even talk to me about that. But I think having that is just opens up, some form of conversation and just, I guess, kind of tries to humanize the sales process. I'm a strong believer in that as well. And I think it's, selling all virtually truthfully takes some of the fun of sales away. Like, you're not roaming the halls like you were talking about in the Oracle days. You're not taking people to lunch right now. But I think it just helps to break through that barrier just a little bit through Zoom of trying to have more human conversations, and even take the numbers out. Like, if you're on 8 Zoom calls a day, just back to back talking with customers, if all you're doing is pitching and running like a sharp discovery, and you don't have any human interaction, like, your fatigue just goes through the roof. I can speak to that personally.
Oh, it is. It really is.
And getting to know people on a more personal level, if nothing else, it definitely helps your results, but it also just keeps you sane and more energized throughout the day, I feel.
Oh, it's so much more fun. It's so much more fun. Like we've had people give to, so one thing that's really cool about IntroSnap, and I'm not just plugging, but like just on this personal thing, that and we've learned this a little bit after launching more than we even thought, because we call it the most personal touch you can make. People, the recipients or the buyers, basically, execs, I mean, they're picking charities that are local and personal to them. And so you learn about it. That was the thing. Like, oh, like one that our users selected, our users told us that their buyer selected, which we love, is the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. Like this person lives in Florida, and then but it turns out that the health of the white shark population says a lot about the health of the ocean. Right. But I didn't know that place. So now we talk about, oh, that's a cool example. And another one is this thing called Pine Castle, which helps people in need. And another one is, and they get, some animal rescue, in central New York is one that came up the other day. You've never heard of these things, but it matters to them. And so it's so much more fun to talk about that stuff, to both parties.
Yeah.
Because you kind of like, they're not generally picking UNICEF and the Cancer Society, nothing wrong with those, but they're not necessarily picking the big ones. Tends to be these cool unknown things. And that's why the thread gets a lot more interesting and personal. And it is totally more fun to get on those topics and break up the conversation with that. One other thing about Zoom, a little sales tip, is on this whole thread of getting people to talk, is that like in a room like yours, and we usually have a room, I mean, I happen to be here, but the customer will also call things out if you put them behind you. So one little trick is, or just tip, is to put something interesting on your walls. Like you've got some space to the back left of you, and on that nice wooden door in the San Francisco apartment, sometimes you can put like a big some award that you won, or something from your alma mater, especially if it's a big school, or hang a guitar from the wall, or some memorabilia, baseball bat, or and some stuff like that. And sometimes, oh, you play guitar, or oh, you went to Michigan, or oh, are you a baseball player? And then you can draw them into talking with you on a personal level as well. Because we're on Zoom, we kind of have that opportunity. So just a little thing to think about.
Yeah, that's a great point. I have a new picture that's right in front. So it's the opposite of what you're talking about, because you can't see it and I can see it, but I am going to, I've been meaning to switch my desk over to show that, but I think that's a great point. I've seen some people even have like whiteboards, and they'll write quotes on them or something funny, or draw something if they're, have that artistic ability. I'm curious, this is just a random thought, but has anyone flipped IntroSnap on you and tried to sell to you by donating to a charity of your choice? Or is it too early?
Yeah, they know they have. So I've had several people who want me to buy their automation send me an IntroSnap donation offer. I'm like, very smart, very smart. Okay, you've got me. You've got my 30 minutes. Absolutely. Yeah. It's cool.
What's your go-to charity?
There's a number of them, but they tend to be, I love to support the environment. We've got to save the planet, and so, and I love to fly fish, and I love the mountains and all that. So anything like Sierra Club, American Rivers, Trout Unlimited, Friends of the River, like these types of, because the rivers are kind of like the veins, to the system of the globe, and we got to keep them healthy. So that's what I'll invariably give to something like that. Yeah.
I love it. I figured that fly fishing example earlier was personal. That would be a random thing to just pick out of the crowd if it wasn't.
Yeah.
So here's a thought, or here's a question for you that I've been thinking about, and since we're talking about charity right now, a lot of people in sales, right? Like one reason that we're in this is because it's it can be pretty financially rewarding, right? Especially if you're doing well and you have a good year and you're getting your commission and all that good stuff. So something that I've been thinking as someone that's been in sales for 7 or so years now in B2B and SaaS is like, okay, where am I need something to tie myself to a little bit from a charitable perspective. And I'm curious, like
Mhm.
outside of IntroSnap, it sounds like maybe you just kind of found those through some of your hobbies, but I feel like if people are listening and they are starting to make some more money and their basic needs are met and maybe they get a little nicer apartment or something, but do want to give back. If you have tips for finding a good charity,
Mhm. Mhm.
how much to donate or how frequently, or any tips that you have on that just from throughout your
Yeah.
career. I feel like that's something that I've never
Yeah.
really heard people talk much about.
That's true. That's true. So the first thing I would do is you want to give to a charity that really matters to you. That's the whole
Yeah.
point. Um, it doesn't have to be, oh, I have to give to, Global Save the Children Fund. There's lots of those guys. They're getting billions of dollars from all kinds of donors, which is fine. But what's fun about it and really gets the kind of tugs the heartstrings is when you find a charity that's local to you, or again has something to do with one of your hobbies. Let's say you love
Hmm.
surfing. There are ocean charities. There's probably a charity for the beach that you surf at.
Yeah.
Literally, like save the such and such beach or whatever, guaranteed. Oh, well, that's where I go on the weekends. That's and then it's going to that area. So search for your town, for the name of your beach. Search for the name of your wherever you got your dog. Search for your local school or the school you went to. Guarantee you they have a fund. Um, your alma mater for sure has a fund.
Yeah.
If you went to college, so anything that's near and dear to you, just start searching. You will find stuff. It's incredible. There is literally on IntroSnap, we have over a million. I mean, a million. There's a charity for
Wow.
everything. Yeah, for everything. And so then to how to find one, go to introsnap.com.
Yeah.
We have a charity search right there for free on the homepage. You can on the nav and start putting in city names and names of things, and it's actually kind of a fun discovery process, and that's when you realize, oh, okay. And it's also a little bit of aha moment, like, I see this is what the customers are doing, and they have fun doing it, and then they see their charity in there. The other day, I use IntroSnap too, and the other day, we're selling to heads of marketing, heads of sales, and I was on with a prospect to use IntroSnap, and they're going to move forward, which was awesome. And and she said, that they don't realize that it's in there. So basically, it's you kind of prod a little bit. Well, there's blah blah blah. I said, well, and she had a dog that came in during the Zoom, and I said, oh, you have dogs? Where'd you get your dog? Oh, I got it at this little shelter it was like in New York or whatever. And I said, "Oh yeah," and I did a search on IntroSnap right there on the call. Boom, there it is. That little shell, like she's like, "No way," right? And there's like such an awesome moment. And so then that's like this aha. And then the day after, you send an IntroSnap donation offer, and she accepts it, and it's just awesome, right? And then
Yeah.
like, okay, there's a bond right there. So that's where it gets really really fun.
I love it. I love it. Well, first of all, Scott, I appreciate your time, your advice, and just in general, like trying to create a business, but also doing good at the same
Yeah,
time. Like you said, I think that's something that everyone, but I think a lot of millennials in general, like people like to support those types of businesses and see that the world in a lot of ways is getting kind of screwed up
yeah,
for lack of a better term. And so I think anyone that is running a business but also trying to do good in their own way is super valuable and something that we all would thank you for. So I'm curious, just the last thing, for anyone that wants to get in touch with you, to chat with
mhm,
you, to learn more about IntroSnap, to prospect into you, whatever it might be, what's the
yeah.
best way to reach out to you?
So number one, as far as IntroSnap goes, we made it frictionless. You can go and sign up for free at introsnap.com. There's literally no payments. You can send out donation offers or charitable gift offers, and only when they accept it do I end up having to even make a payment. So great for even we have individual reps. We're like, I'm just going to go do this,
Hmm.
and then their buddies are like, how'd you get that deal, or how'd you get that meeting, or and then they end up spreading it within, or VPs or someone they can sign up. If you want to contact me, it's my first name dot last name at introsnap.com, scott.milener@introsnap.com. LinkedIn's fine too. And, just reference, Tom's podcast. Glad to talk to anybody and help. We're all in the game together, and it's great to share ideas. And would love to have anybody go ahead and try IntroSnap and use it in your sales process. And it's a lot of fun, and it's working well.
Awesome. Well, Scott, I appreciate the time. Thanks for sharing everything. Everyone definitely go check out introsnap.com and add Scott on LinkedIn and follow along the journey and try it out.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking out that podcast. Happy July to you. Would love if you took 22 seconds and hit subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, your favorite podcast player. And be sure to check out some of my content on LinkedIn. I'm Tom Alemo, and on Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Tommy Tahoe. Have a great day. Make it legendary. Peace.